Welcome to Espresso Jams, short, concentrated, delicious conversations about business, life, and more. And now, here's your host, Joe Matz.
Hello, Joe Matz here again with another episode of Espresso Jams. And today I have with me Kristin Frade. She is a business coach, a team dynamic, and communications consultant. How are you doing today, Kristin?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Super. And for our audience, where do you hail from today?
I am in Holly Springs, North Carolina.
Beautiful place. Great. And Kristin, you work with a lot of businesses and business owners, don't you?
I do. I
And
do. I love
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it. So I was saying I do, and I love it.
That's awesome. And what is on top of people's minds today? What are you hearing from business owners?
Sure. A lot of what I'm hearing, and it started probably about a month ago, which makes sense because that's when people kind of start to think about it. But a lot of what I'm hearing is a lot of fear of the unknown. I mean, that's always a true thing, but in this environment and culture and nowadays, it's even more so. So people are really struggling to set goals. They're really struggling to have some targets that they're going after and really kind of pinpoint what they're even doing in their business and how to decide on what that would look like. So especially for now at the beginning of 2021, which is when we're recording, it's just very unknown for people to figure a lot of those pieces out.
So there's always a lot of unknowns in business. But I would guess that this time of year, in this particular situation that we're in throughout the world, the unknowns have just tremendously increased.
Correct. Now there are a lot of things happening externally, and I do a lot with personality styles, which really affects a lot of the way that we think and how we react to things and how emotionally attached we get to things. So there is kind of some working within that and what you can do, but I'm really big on I call them controllables versus uncontrollables. So when we can identify in a situation, okay, what in this situation that I'm feeling right now or I'm experiencing right now, what can I control or do I have control over? And then what can't I control? Because so many times we worry about the things we can't control, and so much time, thought, energy, the mental side, like mental energy, all of that goes into all these things that we really can't control and can keep changing anyway, which
Yeah,
is, in my opinion, put it bluntly, kind of a waste.
it's
So then,
draining.
yes, very. And then it keeps
Yeah.
us from working on the things that we can control and bringing energy to that.
Mm. I definitely believe that's true. Sometimes when I get into that loop of things that I can't control, I feel like they're like the energy is being sucked out of me. And
Mhm.
there has to be a way to get out of that loop, right? And I think,
Yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking,
Well, I was
think
just,
thinking about the things that you can control certainly brings energy because now I can do things, I can move, I can do this, I can do that, I can change this, and I'm actually affecting my environment.
correct. Yeah. And really, I heard this said once, I'm paraphrasing, but we feel when we feel unproductive, it is worse than being lazy, essentially. So for most small business owners, most entrepreneurs, we constantly feel like we need to be doing something or working towards something, or if we didn't get something done in a day, we kind of feel like a failure, right? And so instead of just being, or not being lazy, but being busy. So a lot of times, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Well, most of us would actually rather be busy than feel unproductive. And so when we let those uncontrollables affect us, that's kind of when we feel unproductive, like we're not making progress as fast as we want to or as much as we'd like to. And that's when it really kind of gets to us and the mental fatigue can start to set in. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure. And how could someone focus more on the controllables?
More on goals.
More on goals, more on things they can control. And I've heard it phrased as your center of influence, which could be with a group, or it could be personal, or it could be with your team members. It's a center where you have influence, where you can control something. And this is not for the control freaks, right?
Right. Right.
We're using the word control a lot. We just want to make that clear. It's about it's about taking it's about taking control of your ship, of the direction of the sails, no matter which way the winds are blowing. If you've got the helm, you can take your ship where you want it to go, and it's that kind of control for the good of everybody, yourself, your family, your employees, society as a whole.
Sure. Yeah, you can interchange a lot of words. What can you influence? What can you have an impact on? What can you adjust? So control is kind of a catch-all for sure. And some people do like a little bit more control than others, that's for sure. But yeah, the center of influence thing, I kind of like that because it is kind of looking at almost a target. Like you can look at that as a target of like, okay, well, I'm right here. What can I impact immediately around me? And then what is the next level of what that would look like? And then what does that ripple effect move out to as well? And so I think that's almost how I help people set goals as well. In especially in this time frame, it's like, okay, well, what is the long-term goal? And then we reverse engineer it down to that center of influence of you being in the middle of what can I do right now, today, that has that immediate impact. And then we're kind of looking from the end more towards that, what can I step forward in today? What can I control right now?
Excellent. So what a business owner would be doing today, obviously, is part of the long term plan to expand that center of influence and reach the long term goal. It's kind of like
Correct.
working with an overall strategy instead of going crazy, tactic this, tactical that, and without any real direction.
Right. And it goes kind of back to that whole people struggle with feeling unproductive.
Hmm.
So a lot of times, if we don't have that end goal and kind of reverse engineer to what we're doing today, we can kind of feel like we're spinning our wheels because we're like, well, I'm doing something right now, but what does this even mean? Like, what's this actually going to lead to? Am I totally wasting my time? Am I being inefficient here? And that's when we kind of, I feel like, I know I have had these moments where I'm like, what am I even doing right now? And does it make a difference? Is this going to get me where I want to go? I have no idea. And to me, that's where, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, this is where coaching is so powerful, is that we help give people the space to figure these things out so that they're not spinning their wheels, and that they are moving forward and they're being productive in the little things that they're doing on a daily basis. They are getting towards that goal. Even though it might be a baby step, it's still a step towards the right goal versus in a random direction.
Towards the right goal. Yes. Yes. I think one of the best coaches I had was a coach that was able to ask questions of me and wouldn't let me slide with the easy answer because he would dig deep and then even deeper. And sometimes it was a little uncomfortable, but it brought out what really made a difference and what I was really wanted to go for.
Sure. Sure.
And
And that is a good coach that's not afraid to do that, um, because that's exactly what a coach does. If you see a basketball coach or a football coach, like sometimes they're yelling at their players. Not that I do that, but I do often bring, like, I call it a loving truth to the situation. And it's true because sometimes we need to be called out on our own mental blocks, or we need to be called out on our blind spots and things that we might not be seeing, or we might be shoving down a little bit, in order to again reach our goals. So it's like, okay, you told me you want this, so if we really want this, then yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this even if it's uncomfortable.
right, that is perfect. So this is so rich. Um, of all that we were able to get through in these few minutes, Kristen, what might be a big takeaway for our listeners today?
Sure. I would say one of the biggest things you can do when you have set goals, even if it's a small goal, or whether it's 5 goals, 1 goal, it doesn't matter. You have to write them down and you have to keep them in front of you. If you write them down, there have been studies shown, studies done, that you are 42% more likely to achieve those goals just by writing it down.
Yes.
So, sometimes we have it in our head or whatever. I put them on my phone because I never don't have my phone. So, however that makes sense to you, but write them down and then keep them in front of you. So even if you have to set a reminder to look at them daily, weekly, monthly, something to just remind you again what that end goal is, so that we make sure that we're making progress on that daily basis to get there. So that's the biggest thing I can leave with.
Perfect. That's great. And how might someone get in touch with you if they want to know more about your programs, about how you work, and if you might be the right coach for them?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm on most social media platforms. I'm on Facebook at Kristin Frade Coaching, Instagram at Kristin Frade. I'm also on LinkedIn. Would love to connect with anybody on there. Or you can just simply go to my website, kristinfrade.com, and you can contact me through there as well. But would love to have a conversation with anybody, find out if I am the right fit. And I have zero problems referring them out to a colleague of mine or other people that I'm maybe networking with if it's more in their wheelhouse and they're going to be a better help for them.
Super. Thank you so much for that. And I know the listeners today appreciate that. So I want to thank you for being on the show and sharing all your wisdom and knowledge, Kristen.
Thank you for having me. Again, I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye now. Bye bye.